Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at some of the news and information that just recently came out for Path of Exile 2 as well as the Path of Exile New League Ultimatum. So first off, you guys are seeing gameplay of Path of Exile 2 in the background here with one of the new weapons, which is going to be the spear, which of course will have new properties. They've actually changed up a lot of the animations, not only for, of course, having a new weapon type, but on top of that, just for like movement and stuff. You guys can definitely tell that they've improved a lot of the animations here. But anyways, we're here to show off things for Path of Exile 2 as well as Ultimatum. So the stuff that I'm going to be showing you guys right here, rapid fire fast. I just want to show you guys like the new gems as well as some of the new uniques coming out. And then I also want to go over the mechanic of the Ultimatum. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. So first off, let's go check out some of these newer gems over here. There are a ton of them. So first off, we have Petrified Blood, which is going to actually make it so it applies a buff that protects the lower half of your life, preventing some of the immediate life loss when damaged by hits and applying the loss over time instead. And our life cannot be raised above low life other than by flask while above low life. Skills will cost life as well as mana, so it makes it so in terms of the blue text, it is life recovery other than flask cannot recover life to above low life. And then when taking damage from hits, 40% of the life loss below half-life is prevented, then 100% of life loss prevented this way is lost over 4 seconds. And then skills gain a base life cost equal to 40% of the base mana cost while not on low life. And low life, just as a heads up, will also be changed to a 50% number. So it's going to be a nice change for anyone that does play on low life. In fact, a lot of these skills are related to basically sacrificing your life. But next up over here, we have Corrupting Fever. So this is going to be another new spell gem over here, and it's going to be physical. But it says it draws your own blood to power a buff, letting you inflict Corrupting Blood debuff on enemies you hit, dealing physical damage over time for a shorter secondary duration. The buff's duration will be refreshed if you spend enough life before it expires. So it deals X amount of base damage, and the base duration is 6 seconds. Then base secondary duration is 1 second. Buff duration is refreshed after you spend a total of X amount of life. Triggering this skill still requires paying its cost. I'm not sure if any of these numbers will which one's going to be changed as a heads up for, like, let's say quality. It can, you know, change things, and alternate gems can obviously affect things as well. That's information though that I don't have at the moment. And then we have Exsanguinate over here, which is going to release several tendrils of blood from the character, targeting enemies in a narrow angle. We'll show off gameplay of this later on. I'm just going to let the PoE2 gameplay play, because they do show off some of these skills in the Ultimatum gameplay that they did show off. But anyways, it basically launches like some tendrils, and it's going to deal some damage. And then it can also stack up to 3 times, which allows skills to chain to apply these tendrils. So you can basically just start melting lots of things as long as they're kind of linked up over on the screen. So that's kind of cool with that one. And then we have Reap, which is going to be kind of like a scythe skill. So it's a bloody scythe that sweeps across and then it does damage. I'm not going to read every single thing on every single skill, but obviously if you guys want to, feel free to pause it, because again, all these numbers are going to be subject to change, obviously not only because they're new, but on top of that, we don't know how the scaling goes. But just know that this one, it's like a scythe attack that like is in a large little like area. But next up, we also have Cruelty Support. A lot of these, again, are going to be related to like some sort of like blood or some sort of newer mechanic. This one is Cruelty over here, and it supports any skill that hits the enemy. So supported skills deal 20% more damage with hits, and then 10% increase effect of Cruelty gained by supported skills, and hits from supported skills grant Cruelty. And then we have Arrogance, which supported skills have 10% increased aura effect, but supported skills reserve life instead of mana. And then we have Life Tap Support. Supported skills cost life instead of mana. Then you gain life tap after spending a total of 17 life with a supported skill. Supported skills deals 20% more damage while you have life tap, and life tap lasts for 4 seconds. Again, all these could be scaling in lots of different ways. Then we have Bloodthirst Support. So that's going to make it so supported attacks deal added physical damage with weapons equal to 2% of maximum life while on low life, and supported skills deal 10% more damage. And then some of the newer uniques coming out in Ultimatum, we have the Glimpse of Chaos, which is going to be a Vol mask. And they said that if you do Vol it, because it has the ability to actually become another unique item, which could be actually really cool, but still actually keeping the implicit. So it can be modified while corrupted, increase life and mana, and reduced fire resistance. And then you have increased maximum mana and reduced cold resistance. And then 32%, well, these are numbers at least right now. Obviously, it will probably roll between some numbers. Increase global maximum energy shield and reduced lightning resistance, and your chaos resistances are 0, and of course it's corrupted. And then we have a new Steel Kite Shield that's going to have a look at all these modifiers on a Corrupted Soul, Divine Flesh, Eternal Youth, Everlasting Sacrifice, Immortal Ambition, and Vol Pact. And some of them will also roll on this that will be unique to this new sort of keystone or something that will only be obviously for this item, which I think is always kind of cool. I'm not sure what else you can roll on it, if it's just going to be random or if it's like there's a certain pool that you can actually pick from with that shield. But there's also another shield that is going to be interesting. This is the Scales of Justice, so it's a spirit shield, and you have increased spell damage, no energy shield, you have some extra life mana, but you are immune to Ignite and Shock if maximum life and maximum mana are within 500, but also you have 3 to 7 added fire damage per 100 of maximum life or maximum mana, whichever is lower. So that can be another like way to scale something unique. And then we have unique Cane over here, and this one has 3 veiled modifiers, so maybe kind of like Paradoxica, which will be really cool, and hopefully this will be an item that can be kind of a chase item as well from, of course, the mechanic of Betrayal, so that's awesome. And then we have a Murderous Eye Jewel, unique over here. This one happens to have plus 15 strength, 20% increased main hand critical strike chance per Murderous Eye Jewel, affecting you up to a maximum of 100%. Then we also have the offhand crit strike multiplier up to a maximum of 50% for each Murder Eye Jewel, so that could be kind of cool as well. And then another unique jewel over here, we have one that grants us some dex, and projectiles have 4% chance to be able to chain when colliding with terrain per searching eye jewel, affecting you up to a maximum of 20%. So just another thing to maybe take into consideration. Then we have the series Splendor, so they actually did buff up a lot of the bosses, so this might be another way for us to actually have some other form of endgame content, which I'm always for, just multiple ways to, you know, grind the endgame. So this could be kind of cool. You have +1 to all of all skill gems, and then you have the increased energy shield, maximum energy shield, and all resist, and then 100 life and mana on kill. And then we have Atziri's Rule, which is a Judgment Staff over here, which has 20% chance to block spell damage while wielding a staff. And then we have grants level 20 Queen's Demand skill. And then we have Queen's Demand can trigger level 20 Flames of Judgment, also can be level 20 Storm of Judgment. And you can't be stunned, and damage cannot be reflected, so that's kind of cool. And one huge change that I'm actually really excited about. Now, there are more changes, and I will go over those in a moment here, but one huge change for any of you guys that, you know, don't really like doing the lab enchant, or you realize it's very expensive to buy the item with the correct enchant, you now have triple options to go ahead and select from if you decide to go ahead and enchant. And I'll show you what it is. It's not just like rolling it 3 times. You get to select from 3 which one you want, which could actually be really good for multiple things, allowing you to potentially have an item that you just want to, like, you know, let's say a skill is very popular the next league, go ahead and pick that one up and slot it in, and then maybe you can actually make a lot of currency. So I think that that's cool as well for other, you know, ways to make currency. Now, I do want to also go ahead and show you guys the Ultimatum mechanic, but this is pretty much it for Path of Exile 2. There is like 10 more minutes of gameplay here. If you guys want to see it, I will be pinning down below all of the sources and everything that I will be mentioning down below. Basically, someone made a really nice Reddit thread, which let me check out the stuff a lot easier. So anyways, in terms of the new league mechanic, the Ultimatum over here. So what is it? So basically, you go up to like the league mechanic, and I'll just be like in areas, right? You go ahead and start it up, and you'll have to kill a bunch of monsters. Now, after you finish, you'll have a progress bar, and then you can decide, do you want to take the rewards, and it'll show it in a second here, or what you can do is, you know, risk everything and keep on making it harder, do another wave, and basically you just do it until you either lose everything or you get an item that you want. And you can actually select multiple different rewards, but as you go up in the next like difficulty or next wave, things will be a lot harder. There will be a lot more modifiers to go ahead and make things more difficult. It's not just the enemy type. There will be projectiles that will shoot out, and again, it's just different ways to make it a little bit more difficult. But you will see what you're able to get for your rewards, which is cool. I like the idea of it. So there is some sort of risk/reward incentive for you to push harder, or you lose everything, and it's quite entertaining for the stream, which I like that idea. That's really cool. There's also a lot of other league changes for many of the leagues. Now, I won't go into detail of each one of them. Basically, a lot of things have been buffed. Now, you can see over here, they're going in with a new form of map device that you can just go in, and then you can see this is really cool. The reward is doubling sacrifice currency. So this league mechanic seems like it's a lot about risk and reward. I mean, doubling it and getting it, another exalt is pretty good, but remember, if you fail, you lose everything. So I like that idea. I think a lot of people will be very inclined to place things that are really good in the tanky department. So Necromancer probably was looking like a pretty solid choice, but they've also made other changes to certain other things that you can farm. Like you can basically do the temple. You can actually get that as, let's just kind of skim through the gameplay over here. So they show off a few of the new uniques that I've already kind of went over, but there's also some other things. Like they've basically made it so chests and other gameplay mechanics will have a chance to drop. This is actually a new form of currency. They actually show off this ring here that gives you chaos damage. So it's a new base item that can give you % increased chaos damage. But on top of that, you can farm bosses. This is something that I already kind of talked about or touched upon. But you can also potentially just get Headhunter as a drop. You can get all these as drops in the game. So that's actually pretty big. I know for a lot of people, they really like those chase uniques, and sometimes they just never get to it. I think at this point we've had 3 Headhunters total. And there's people that are like, dude, I can never get this. And from a casual perspective, because I also create Diablo content, and Diablo 3 is a much easier game to acquire certain items, and people kind of feel like if they don't get that item, they can't get that build, right? And I totally get where people come from, especially coming from a lot of different action RPGs, but this will hopefully make it easier to get those items that are really difficult to get for certain players that might not have as much time, or they might not understand how to farm currency and kind of progress a lot faster in PoE or any action RPG. But you can see that they're actually giving past content reward system improvements, which they talked about. Basically, a lot of things will be a lot bit easier to get, and they also added, again, newer items and basically buffing certain things to make it more, again, incentivized to go ahead and play older mechanics, because sometimes people just wouldn't participate in them. They show off, here's a bunch of, there's more essences. Basically, they're buffing a lot of the things. I actually want to go and see if they have the... Okay, so this is the thing I was mentioning before, where it shows off, if you want to go ahead and get, the temple, you're able to actually save that, and you can actually sell that or trade it to players, and basically people that can clear some of the content, maybe you just want to go ahead and farm for that map. Someone else can go ahead and actually do it and reap the rewards. Okay, so here's one of the newer skills. It's the scythe skill that I was talking about earlier. I want to show you guys some of the newer skills as well here, at least for the gameplay. It looks interesting. I'm usually not a fan of things where you have to be perfectly still, but the AoE seems relatively large. I'm also curious to see how it works with some of the clones, if it works with the Savior and stuff like that. It could be actually pretty dang good. But yeah, this is one of the newer skills, and they're just showing off the temple. I want to see if I can find the tendril gameplay, but basically it's just little tendrils to shoot out. They're actually nerfing Delve a little bit for the people that are super far towards the end game. Just again skimming through. Okay, this is what I wanted to show off. This is the Orb of Veiled Chaos. So this is a new thing. So it modifies something, and then you have a veiled modifier. And then they also mentioned that they're going to be nerfing talismans, which I really wish they wouldn't do, because I felt like talismans, for once, they were actually quite viable to go ahead and get. There's going to be new incubators. Again, there's a lot more what I would consider small stuff to mention, but I don't want to make this video video like, you know, 40 minutes long, because I'm trying to cover the PoE2 stuff as well as this kind of in one video. The PoE2 stuff is mostly just like they were showing off gameplay and it's cool to see it, versus like, hey guys, this is when beta is happening, this is when we're going to be, you know, launching the game. They did not give us any info on that. They didn't show, I know a lot of people want to see more of like the transformation. Unfortunately, they didn't show that off in the gameplay. I'll link the full gameplay down below, but with the PoE2, it's just like we have spear as a new weapon type and we have the heavy crossbow as another weapon type, which you guys saw in the gameplay. But another thing that is pretty good is you can actually anoint corrupted items now, which is pretty big, which kind of makes talismans less good in a sense, because what made talismans good, well, you couldn't even use the catalyst on talismans, so talismans were kind of worse already, technically, in some department. But I really felt like talismans didn't need a nerf. In terms of harvest, they're just basically, from what I understand, there's going to be more harvest, but they're kind of nerfing and they're removing some of the things from it. So I'm guessing it's kind of related to exploding chests. Pretty much, if you have at least 2 exalts, you should be able to pretty much craft it still. But I know for a lot of people, it's a huge disappointment that you know, getting exploding chests, which is a very good thing to have, is just not going to be as easy to obtain. But yeah, they're just basically showing off more of the gameplay. I wanted to see if I can... Okay, so new skills and support gems. So I just want to show you guys the lightning tendrils because, of course, when, you know, they're showing off new skills, I want to see how they look like before actually committing to, like, you know, an idea. Oh, gosh, this is a really long screen. Okay, so they're showing off... There's just petrified blood, and you can see over on the health bar, there's like these little like claws or tendrils that are kind of like showing the indication of that. And again, they're changing the max life or the consideration of low life is at 50%. So it's corrupting fever. I just want to show you the... Oh, so this is the tendrils of blood. Okay, now that we've shown off all of like the new skills, again, it was like the little like Reaper Scythe as well as Extinguishate over here, which is the little like tendrils. You can see like it's hitting a decent amount of enemies, and then Reap is the Scythe skill that I mentioned before. Let me know if you guys like the looks of these skills. For me, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I want to play this. I might just roll like eye shot for the next league and hope that there's some other new uniques that make it much more interesting. But again, this is the new league mechanic. I'm curious to know what you guys think of it. For me, I like the idea of risk. In terms of the new gems, nothing that particularly interests me. I always like the idea of like, you know, blood magic in any game as like kind of a different way to spend your resource, right? To go ahead and like, let's say, increase your damage or whatever. So there will be maybe some play with certain auras or stuff like that. But that's pretty much it that I wanted to go ahead and cover. I do want to mention there is still more content that I might not have covered in here. They did technically mention a lot of... I went over the uniques though, and I did go over a bunch of the new skills, but there's going to be these other Vol Reliquary keys that you can actually obtain. There's a few other things, and I'll leave that down below, but I just wanted to go over what I would consider like the main important things that I wanted to go ahead and cover. But like I said, with PoE2, I'm really excited about this. I really wish they announced a release date, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about the release date for PoE2. Do you guys think it's going to be 2022 or is it going to be 2023? Because I remember when they first revealed Path of Exile 2, they said possible beta in 2020, which makes me think that they should probably release a beta in 2021, I'm guessing. You know, obviously it's all speculation, but they said maybe beta in 2020. So I want to say 2021 would be realistic for a beta. And if we do get the beta in 2021 here, I could say that a release date maybe 2022 is a good kind of potential placeholder. Again, this is just my speculation because everyone wants to know, you know, when do you think it's going to come out? That's just my guess, man. But you guys can let me know your thoughts in terms of like the release date down below. But I hope it does come out sooner than later because I'm really excited to get my hands and see. I wanted to see more of the transformation. I wanted to see more of the ascendancies as they're going to be reworking and adding completely new ascendancies to Path of Exile 2. But this is what I was mostly interested in, and I just wanted to touch upon this. You have different elements of like arrows. It's really cool the way they show. There was like a piercing shot, there was like a fire one, and there was an ice, and they were kind of swapping in between all of them because in Path of Exile 2 you're not really locked to one skill. Like in PoE 1 you would be kind of locked to one skill and then you'd basically just spam that over and over. With the new like system with like linking your skills, it's so much easier just to have multiple skills. I like that idea. I hope they actually touch upon Flask because that was a huge topic in the community more recently over on Reddit where they wanted it so like you could basically macro 1 to all, or just change up the flask mechanic, as you're clearing content super fast, especially if you have a headhunter and you're doing like those 100% delirious maps. Yeah, man, you're just going to be spamming on it forever. But this is actually going to be one of the towns in Path of Exile 2, and I thought this was really cool. It's like moving, right? And they showed off some of the dialogue, and the voice acting is on point. Everything so far from Path of Exile 2 is looking very, very promising. But like I said, I'll leave the full gameplay down below. I don't want to make this video longer than I feel like it's necessary, and I already feel like it's longer than necessary because I was planning for a 10-minute video, but there's just way too much to cover in such a short amount of time. But like I said, I'll leave the Reddit post down below for any of you guys who are interested in kind of reading maybe a little bit more about some of the smaller changes that they will be doing. I just want to go over like kind of my thoughts on it. But I'm really looking forward to League. Like I said, I think it's a cool mechanic. Anything where there's risk makes the game more entertaining, at least. And I think what they really should focus in on is making the game a little bit more accessible for people that want to play with random people. That's one thing I think that is lacking since I create a lot of Diablo content. People are like, in the end game, when I do maps, like how do I like queue up for, I want to do Torment, whatever difficulty. The problem is with these map modifiers, some people simply can't do maps. So I think that would be a really good thing for them to take into consideration for Path of Exile 2, is for like basically an open queue for group play. Because I know some people, they might not have friends to group up with, and again, certain modifiers just make it unplayable for certain builds. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap things up. Curious to know what you guys think of the new PoE 2 gameplays and the newer things coming out in Ultimatum down below. But anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next video. And if you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you are new here and do want to see more Path of Exile and action RPG content, we actually just dropped gameplay of the new Diablo 2 Resurrected Alpha that Blizzard hooked me up with. So I'll also pin that down below. And I'm assuming most of you guys would like to see that, as Diablo 2 is still one of the kings of ARPGs, as well as with Path of Exile. I love those games. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one, and I'm out. Peace.